Imagine waking up one day, years from now, realizing that the only thing standing between you and the life you always wanted was the courage to begin, and that you never took that chance. Wouldn't that be the most painful what-if of your life? We often live our lives under the illusion that one day the stars will align perfectly, the circumstances will be flawless, and we will finally feel ready to pursue our dreams. People say, when the time is right, I'll go for it. When I have more money, more experience, more support, then I'll take the leap. But if we're honest, that time never truly arrives. Waiting for the right time is the very reason so many dreams die in silence. Life doesn't hand out guarantees. There will always be another reason to delay, another excuse to cling to, another fear to feed. If you're waiting for the perfect season to chase what sets your soul on fire, you might be waiting your entire life, because perfection is an illusion designed to keep you stuck. The truth is, the right time does not exist until you declare it. The right time is the moment you decide to stop hesitating. The right time is when you finally realize that the only permission slip you ever needed was the one you write for yourself. Too many people look outside of themselves for validation. They wait for family, for society, for mentors, for strangers on the internet to say, "Yes, you're good enough. Yes, now is your chance." But if you keep searching for approval, you'll always be at the mercy of someone else's opinion the moment you decide, "I'm ready." Even if you don't feel prepared, even if you don't know all the steps, that's when momentum begins. Think about it. Every great achievement you admire was built by someone who started before they were ready. The authors who published their first books without knowing if anyone would read them, the entrepreneurs who launched businesses in their garages with no guarantee of success. The athletes who trained without the best facilities, but with every single thing we interact with on a daily basis, is proof that ideas alone are not enough. The device you're holding, the clothes you wear, the buildings you enter, the transportation you use, all of these were once nothing more than thoughts floating in someone's imagination. At one point, they were invisible concepts that only existed in a mind that refused to let them fade away. What separated the dreamers from the doers wasn't who had the best ideas, but who had the courage to act on them. Action is what transforms imagination into reality. Without it, even the most brilliant idea will vanish into the background noise of the billions of thoughts that pass through the human mind every single day. Think about how many times you've had a spark of inspiration, a business concept, a creative project, a skill you wanted to learn, and then let it slip away. At first, the excitement is strong. You feel motivated, energized, ready to take on the world, but then hesitation creeps in. Questions like, "What if it doesn't work?" or "What if I fail?" start to drown out the passion. Before long, that idea that once lit you up becomes just another someday plan. And someday never arrives. This is the cycle that keeps most people stuck in mediocrity. They confuse inspiration with accomplishment, forgetting that ideas are only the beginning. The ones who rise above are those who move beyond thought and into relentless execution. History is full of people who had no guarantees but still chose to act. The Wright brothers didn't know their flying machine would actually take off, but they tested and failed repeatedly until the world could see the sky as a new highway. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before a working light bulb illuminated the night. But his willingness to act again and again made him one of the most influential inventors in history. These people weren't superhuman, they weren't luckier than you. They simply understood that the only way to bring an idea to life is through consistent, determined effort. Ideas are cheap, everyone has them, you've probably had dozens today alone, but execution, that's what's rare. That's what turns daydreams into legacies. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who don't isn't intelligence or resources. It's the simple decision to take action even when the path is uncertain, to stop overthinking and start building. To stop asking for reassurance and start trusting that the process will shape the way forward. When you look at the world, remember this. Every achievement, every innovation, every movement started because someone acted on an idea instead of waiting for someone else to do it. The opportunity is the same for you. Your ideas are already enough. The question is whether you'll let them die inside your mind or bring them to life with your hands. Unshakable dedication, none of them had the perfect conditions. What they had was courage, the ability to say, I refuse to wait any longer, I'm starting today. And in doing so, they created their own right time. Fear will whisper to you, reminding you of everything that could go wrong. It will convince you that tomorrow is safer than today, that waiting will somehow prepare you better. But fear is clever. Fear understands that if it can keep you waiting, it can keep you small. The antidote to fear is not waiting for it to disappear, it is moving forward in spite of it. Action kills fear faster than time ever could. Every step you take toward your vision shrinks the power of hesitation. So many people sit on the edge of their potential, dipping a toe into the water but never fully diving in. They're waiting for the right temperature, the right weather, the right crowd to cheer them on, but life is not waiting for you. Time is slipping away whether you act or not. The question is not whether the right time will arrive, the question is whether you will stop waiting and create it yourself. Every single thing we interact with on a daily basis is proof that ideas alone are not enough. The device you're holding, the clothes you wear, the buildings you enter, the transportation you use. All of these were once nothing more than thoughts floating in someone's imagination. At one point, they were invisible concepts that only existed in a mind that refused to let them fade away. What separated the dreamers from the doers wasn't who had the best ideas, but who had the courage to act on them. Action is what transforms imagination into reality. Without it, even the most brilliant idea will vanish into the background noise of the billions of thoughts that pass through the human mind every single day. Think about how many times you've had a spark of inspiration, a business concept, a creative project, a skill you wanted to learn, and then let it slip away. At first, the excitement is strong. You feel motivated, energized, ready to take on the world, but then hesitation creeps in. Questions like, what if it doesn't work? Or what if I fail? Start to drown out the passion. Before long, that idea that once lit you up becomes just another someday plan. And someday never arrives. This is the cycle that keeps most people stuck in mediocrity. They confuse inspiration with accomplishment, forgetting that ideas are only the beginning. The ones who rise above are those who move beyond thought and into relentless execution. History is full of people who had no guarantees but still chose to act. The Wright brothers didn't know their flying machine would actually take off, but they tested and failed repeatedly until the world could see the sky as a new highway. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before a working light bulb illuminated the night, but his willingness to act again and again made him one of the most influential inventors in history. These people weren't superhuman. They weren't luckier than you. They simply understood that the only way to bring an idea to life is through consistent, determined effort. Ideas are cheap. Everyone has them. You've probably had dozens today alone, but execution, that's what's rare. That's what turns daydreams into legacies. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who don't isn't intelligence or resources. It's the simple decision to take action even when the path is uncertain, to stop overthinking and start building. To stop asking for reassurance and start trusting that the process will shape the way forward. When you look at the world, remember this. Every achievement, every innovation, every movement started because someone acted on an idea instead of waiting for someone else to do it. The opportunity is the same for you. Your ideas are already enough. The question is whether you'll let them die inside your mind or bring them to life with your hands. Life has a way of convincing us to shrink ourselves into comfort zones, to settle for safety rather than chase significance. From a young age, we are taught to follow the path that seems predictable, to secure stability, to aim for what society labels as success. And yet, deep down, there's a voice that whispers that we are meant for more than simply existing. Too many people ignore that voice and spend their days moving cautiously, as if life is something to tiptoe through, hoping to make it to the end without too much disturbance. But here's the truth. Playing small might keep you safe, but it will also keep you invisible. It may protect you from rejection, but it will also rob you of fulfillment. You weren't created to play defense with your dreams. You were created to live boldly, to explore the full measure of your potential. When we play small, we convince ourselves that we are being practical, that we're being responsible. But what we're really doing is hiding behind fear of failure, hiding behind the opinions of others, hiding behind excuses that keep us from experiencing the depth of what life has to offer. Playing small is choosing a life of quiet desperation over a life of meaning and impact, and the danger is that it feels comfortable, which makes it easy to settle into without even realizing the years are slipping by. The clock doesn't stop while we delay. Every moment spent avoiding our potential is a moment of life that can never be reclaimed. The people who leave legacies, the ones we admire, the ones whose stories inspire us, all share one thing in common: they refused to live small. They refused to confine themselves to the limitations that society tried to place on them. They dared to look beyond survival and ask, what if I try? What if I risk it all? What if I fail and get back up stronger? Those questions propel people into new levels of existence, while those who avoid them remain trapped in the ordinary. The truth is, you can live safely and still lose. You can do everything right, follow all the rules, and still wake up one day realizing you traded your life for security instead of fulfillment. When you look back on your life, regret won't come from the risks you took. It will come from the chances you never allowed yourself to take. It won't come from the times you fell short. It will come from the times you never even tried. Playing small might shield you from the temporary sting of failure, but it guarantees the permanent ache of wondering what could have been. Life is too short to settle for half measures, too precious to give away to fear and hesitation. The world doesn't benefit from your timidity. It benefits from your courage, your creativity, your willingness to step out of the shadows and into the fullness of your purpose. There are moments in life when you feel restless, moments when everything around you seems fine on the surface, yet something deep inside keeps whispering that you're meant for more. That unease, that quiet pull is not random, it's a sign. Too often people dismiss it as impatience or dissatisfaction, but in reality, it is the universe nudging you toward your true path. That spark of inspiration you feel when you imagine a different future, that sudden burst of excitement when you think about a dream, or even the frustration you carry every time you compromise for less than what you deserve. Those feelings are not coincidences. They are signals, reminders that life is trying to guide you. Most ignore them, convincing themselves that they should just be grateful for what they have, but those signs exist for a reason. They are proof that within you lies potential waiting to be unleashed. Ignoring those signs is like muting your inner compass. You end up wandering through life without direction, hoping that purpose will fall into your lap. But purpose rarely shouts, it whispers. It calls to you in the moments you can't stop thinking about, the passions that refuse to leave your heart, the daydreams that light up your imagination even when you try to suppress them. If you've ever asked yourself, why can't I just be satisfied? The answer is simple. You weren't built to just survive, you were built to create, to expand, to push beyond what you know. That dissatisfaction isn't something to run from. It's something to lean into because it's showing you the doorway to your growth. Signs also appear in the form of discomfort. When you feel drained by your job, when your relationships feel unaligned, when you find yourself bored with routines that once seemed acceptable, those are not flaws in your personality. They are messages that you've outgrown your current environment. Just as a plant needs repotting when it outgrows its container, you too must recognize when it's time to move into new soil. Growth requires change, and those feelings of frustration are life's way of urging you forward. The longer you ignore them, the more restless you become, because your potential is too powerful to be silenced forever. You've probably noticed how inspiration can hit you at random times, in the shower, on a walk, in the middle of the night, and you suddenly feel alive with possibility. That energy is the universe putting a seed in your mind, but seeds only grow when planted and watered. Too many people take those ideas and bury them in doubt, never giving them a chance to grow. They wait for confirmation from others, for someone else to validate their dream, when the truth is the sign was already given the moment the idea entered their heart. The signs are everywhere, but the question is whether you're willing to notice them, trust them, and act on them. They will not stop appearing because life is relentless in trying to pull you toward your potential. What matters is whether you choose to answer the call. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. Many people treat it as a final destination, as proof that they are not capable, not worthy, or not ready. But failure was never meant to be the end, it was meant to be a teacher. Every successful person has a history of stumbling, falling, and facing rejection, but what makes them different is that they refused to let failure define them. They understood that risk and setbacks are not signals to stop, but invitations to grow stronger. The truth is, the path to success is paved with broken attempts, closed doors, and mistakes that seemed unbearable in the moment, but were necessary in shaping the character, resilience, and wisdom that success demands. Fear of failure, however, keeps most people trapped. They imagine the embarrassment of being judged, the pain of wasting time, or the disappointment of falling short, and those images become stronger than their desire to try. They convince themselves that avoiding the risk will keep them safe, when in reality it keeps them stuck. What they fail to realize is that failure is temporary, but regret lasts a lifetime. A setback can sting for a season, but regret carves into your soul forever, replaying the question, "What if I had tried?" That question is far heavier than any failure could ever be. The pain of effort, the exhaustion of discipline, and the discomfort of uncertainty all fade with time. You forget the sleepless nights, the sweat, the sacrifices, but you carry with you the lessons and the rewards. On the other hand, when you give in to fear, when you avoid the leap, you might feel comfortable in the short term, but years later you're left haunted by the opportunities you passed up. People rarely look back, regretting the times they tried and failed. They regret the moments they never had the courage to start. Every risk you take expands your capacity to handle more. Every failure teaches you something about what works and what doesn't. Every rejection builds your tolerance for challenges ahead. Success doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. If you can endure the short-term discomfort of falling and getting back up, you will outlast the majority of people who quit at the first obstacle. It is not the absence of failure that creates champions, it is the willingness to keep moving through it. Imagine two roads, one filled with obstacles, challenges, and uncertainty, and another smooth and easy with no resistance. At first glance, most people would choose the easy road, but the easy road leads nowhere. It teaches nothing. It builds nothing. The difficult road, the one filled with failure and risk, is the one that leads to growth, strength, and fulfillment. Choosing to embrace that path means choosing to live fully, to accept that pain is a part of progress, and to trust that every fall is shaping you into someone capable of rising even higher. Courage and fear are both powerful forces, but the difference between the two is simple. One moves you forward and the other keeps you stuck. Every person who has achieved something remarkable has faced the exact same fear that you feel. They questioned themselves, they doubted whether they were ready, they worried about how others might judge them. But instead of allowing fear to paralyze them, they chose courage. And courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means taking action in spite of it. Fear whispers all the reasons you shouldn't try, but courage answers back with just one reason why you must. That single reason, that belief in something greater than the fear itself, is what shifts lives and shapes legacies. When you choose courage, you're not only making a decision for the present moment, you're shaping your future. Imagine yourself years from now looking back at the choices you made today. Will you be proud of the moments when you stepped up, or will you be haunted by the chances you let slip away? Your future self is depending on you right now to choose bravery over comfort. They are waiting to thank you for every risk you took, every uncomfortable step you walked, every moment you stood tall even when your voice shook. If you let fear dictate your choices, that future self will never exist, and instead you'll be left with a version of yourself that wonders what could have been. The truth is, fear is an illusion. It magnifies outcomes that rarely come true and convinces you that disaster is inevitable. Yet most of the time, the worst-case scenario is nowhere near as bad as the story you've created in your head. On the other hand, the best-case scenario, the possibility of success, growth, fulfillment, is beyond anything you can imagine. But you will never know unless you act. Courage unlocks doors that fear would have kept sealed forever. It's the key that transforms your potential into reality. Choosing courage doesn't have to mean making giant leaps right away. Sometimes it's as simple as speaking up when you'd normally stay silent, trying something new when you'd usually play it safe, or taking the first small step toward a dream instead of waiting for everything to be perfect. Each act of courage, no matter how small, weakens the grip of fear and strengthens the muscle of confidence. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes your new normal, and your capacity to dream bigger and achieve more expands with every step. Fear might never disappear completely, but that's not the goal. The goal is to train yourself to act anyway, to stop giving fear the steering wheel of your life. Courage is a choice you make daily, sometimes hourly, in the face of doubt and uncertainty. And each time you make that choice, you reclaim power over your destiny. You step closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be, and you prove to yourself that fear was never stronger Then it only seemed that way until you decided to rise above it. So here it is, no more waiting, no more excuses, no more playing small. The signs have been in front of you all along, and now you've heard it clearly. The time is now. Go all in, because the world doesn't need a half version of you. It needs the real you, fully alive, fully committed, and fearless enough to chase what you were made for.